Welcome to what should be our real first episode of Whatever Behind the Curtain. I'm your host, Whatever, and today we're pulling back the curtain on the chilling topic celebrities who were killed by their fans. The testament to the darker side of fame. And today I have my friend Bun.
Hello.
Hello. uh, We're slowly dying inside, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So, obviously, we're going to discuss obsession today, tragedy, and legacy. But before that, I'm gonna ask you this question. I know your answer like 100% no. But of course, if you could meet a celebrity that you know you're gonna freak out, who would it be?
Billie Eilish.
Billie Irish, and I knew that. Of course, I knew that. Well, I really did know that. And
Yes.
and I say mine would probably be Joseph Quinn. He was in Stranger Things. He was in the new Gladiators 2 movie, and he's going to be in the new Fantastic Four movie. Um, he's a very versatile actor because every time that I see him in something new, 100% of the time, I'm probably thinking if I know him or not because he just is a shapeshifter, I guess. Okay, so we are going to first talk about the psychology behind, our cases. So obviously, there has to be some type of mental state going into this. And more so, we're going to talk about parasocial relationships. And Bun, I know you did study psychology for a little bit. Was that something that you guys talked about?
Yeah. It was something that was talked about often, actually, which is surprising.
Really? Okay, that's something.
It came up at least 2 or 3 times in my courses.
Oh, wow. Okay, so according to BetterHelp.com, parasocial relationships, the definition is that they are one-sided relationships or emotional attachments individuals form with media personalities, fictional characters, or public figures, often formed from television, social media, or other digital platforms. And would you say that social media improved or made this worse?
100% it made it worse.
Yeah, because I guess if you could compare it today, like think of like Marilyn Monroe. If I'm pretty sure I said her name super wrong because of my speech impediment right now. Yeah, think of her. Yeah, if she was like alive today, imagine like how much like the paparazzis would be hounding her, and then like we would know everything that she would be doing on, her Instagrams or Twitter and everything.
Yeah,
And
essentially people would just be stalking her 24/7.
yeah, it's because that's what we do now to like some of our other, celebrities that we got now, like the Kardashians or, even some of the stars that have become famous on YouTube and stuff like that. Okay, so first I'm gonna present our 5 cases that we have today. So we have our first case. We're doing in chronological order, by the way. First we have John Lennon. Then we're gonna cover Andrés Escobar, Selena, which I think is the one that we probably know more about.
Yeah.
Gianni Versace, and unfortunately our latest one, Christina Grimmie. Okay, so getting into our first case, or oldest case that out of the 5 that we have, we got John Lennon. So his this event happened in 1980, December in New York. So John Lennon, of course, if you're very into music, you would know that he was a singer. He was also part of the Beatles, which they had their very popular like Beatles movement back then. I think you could probably compare it to like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. Those boy bands that we had in the 90s and the 80s. Hmm. Um, have you listened to the Beatles before, or like even a song by John Lennon?
Um, I've heard a few of their songs, especially in like those I don't want to say alternative shops, but like like you travel somewhere, it's like a hippie-ish kind of.
Yeah, because that's kind of like
Yeah,
their era, honestly.
yeah. It's always playing either Beatles or Bob Marley.
Yeah, Bar Marley or like Nirvana, like those types of
Mhm.
music. Yeah. He was also known like I think this was the more later, like once he became a solo artist, he was known for activism. He was said to have been a champion for civil rights, environmental issues, and social justices in a whole. And now getting into this tragic event. So, on the day of December 8th, he was out and about with his wife. They had just came back from a photo shoot that they put together. When he was shot 4 times outside of his apartment, and he was shot in like very vital areas that caused really heavy hemorrhaging. That it was said that he lost over 80% of his blood.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I even saw like a quote when I was researching this from one of the doctors that operated on him that said, even if he had been shot right there in the hospital, right there in the operating room, they would have no way to have saved him. So that just,
Wow.
yeah, like I um was gonna say, I feel like each of these cases can have their own episode because this is just to like grazing over that instance, because there's a lot more into like how he was shot, like the type of bullets he was shot with, all that stuff. That is just a whole lot more to this case than just him being shot 4 times and dying.
Yeah.
Hmm. And the person who shot him was a man by the name of Mark David Chapman. He was said to at one time been a Beatles fan, but once he became a reborn Christian, he grew very upset by Lennon's words and his lifestyle. It was said that he was more so upset by the fact that Lennon had once said the Beatles were more famous than Jesus, and he found him to be very hypocritical in the lifestyle he was living when he was preaching about how all you need was love, but yet he was a celebrity and living in penthouses and going on private jets and everything like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't really expect too much from celebrities when they're saying, that you just need to be humble, but you have celebrities like Taylor Swift who get on jets for anything.
Exactly.
What?
And he's no. It's frustrating because like
Yeah, it it really is. And it said that before Chapman had shot Lennon, he actually asked for an autograph. Like when he was leaving for the photo shoot that I had said before, he this is something that he apparently did was when he left his apartment. If there was fans outside, he would stop by and take pictures with them or sign autographs for them. And Chapman was there being a stalker, stalking him. And when he saw him, he got very excited and he asked for an autograph. And there's even one of his other fans was there, and they took a picture of John Lennon signing the autograph for Chapman, that they're both in the same picture. So that was very disturbing to see, because this picture is, all over the internet. Anyone can see it, and it's just so weird when you know what he's gonna do later on. And so after he has shot John Lennon, he kind of just, sat to the side. He didn't try to run or anything, and he was arrested. And eventually, in, trying to figure out why he did what he did, and, I guess so that they can try to make like a court case, they had him evaluated, and he was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. And it was said that this was so that his attorneys can try to plead for, what's it called? Guilt. Huh?
Like for him to be released based off of insanity.
Yeah, I think it's like guilty by reason of insanity or something like that. Yeah, but instead he decided to just plead guilty entirely, and because of that, he was sentenced to 20 years to life, and he actually was eligible for parole last year in 2024, but he was denied, which is very good, because I cannot imagine someone being on the streets after they murdered someone who gave them an autograph. Yeah, like, especially because it's really sad when you realize that it wasn't like John Lennon was making a exception for him. This was something that he did on a regular basis. If he was, going somewhere, leaving his apartment, and he saw fans were there, he would stop and take his time to give them autographs and, sign, pictures and other stuff for them. So, yeah, that was super sad. Like, I think that also just shows how sick he was,
Honestly, I mean, could you really say that he had paranoids, like he was a paranoid schizophrenic?
I don't.
Or do you think that they just like diagnosed him with that
I think
to get a lesser sentence?
I think maybe he was sick, and because he himself said that he was excited to see John Lennon, and he was excited to see this dude who he was he a fan of for so long, but it changed like at the snap of your fingers, that he was like, okay, now I'm gonna kill him. Like, I feel like that's something that I can never imagine feeling, that to be excited to see someone and then being like, okay, now I'm gonna kill you. That is like, I don't know if it'll be like in that category of paranoid schizophrenia, but it definitely is showing like something's wrong.
It's showing obvious signs of mental illness, because you're not gonna just be like, oh, I'm Christian and I don't like your way of living, so I'm gonna kill you after I get your autograph.
Yeah.
There's
And then
obvious signs of mental illness there, but like,
yeah. And then, like I said, this case, all the cases we're covering today could be made into their own episode, because there's like a whole lot more into this, because he actually had tried to kill Lennon like a few months prior, before in October, but he had changed his mind. Yeah, because this man also, I didn't say before, but he's from Hawaii. He went from Hawaii to New York to kill John Lennon. And
so it was he literally planned it.
He did plan it, yeah. So that's like showing like,
so it's premeditated.
Yeah. Especially because, like I said, he came in October to New York from Hawaii, where he lived, to try to kill him, but for some reason he changed his mind and he went back. But for some reason he changed his mind again and he came back in December and he did what he did. Oh my god,
Oh my goodness.
you're back.
What's this podcast about?
It's about celebrities being killed by their fans. If those of you who are just joining in the podcast are wondering who the frick just came in, that's our friend Fusion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Late.
that's late. Remy,
Late.
move.
I had work.
Remy, move your
I
blob.
worked on the.
You're like,
Bob.
yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like
Very
right on.
blob.
You're right on top of the microphone, man. You're making the microphone all blobby.
Muffled.
Shut up.
There you go. You go at the bottom of the table.
Okay.
Okay. So we were in the
Can
middle.
the stream see this slideshow?
No. I was gonna like make this slideshow, like probably post parts of it onto my Instagram.
And YouTube or no?
Probably not. Well, yeah, I could probably edit it onto YouTube. Yeah. I'll edit
W.
parts of it onto YouTube. Yeah. So we were in the middle of talking about the case of John Lennon, and well, Fusion, you're kind of into music. Have you heard of John Lennon?
I have.
You have?
The Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah. We were talking about how, Beatles. Well, Bun said that she mostly hears them whenever she goes into like hippie kind of shops and stuff.
What? Bun, you don't just listen to the Beatles like when you're at home?
No.
Why not?
I'm more into like hard rock.
Yeah. Well, the Beatles are kind of like more the old rock and roll stuff, Well,
Yeah.
are they rock?
Yeah, they're considered as a rock band.
Yeah. So
Like soft.
yeah,
Soft rock.
old school rock, honestly.
Yeah.
So we were honestly just finishing up his case. Do you want like a quick rundown?
Like, sure. Yeah, why not?
You sure?
Yeah.
Or do you want us to just go to the next case? Since you know what happened to him, do you?
I know. Yeah, I know. I know like what happened. Though.
Okay, you're just gonna
I
have
don't
to listen to our podcast then to find out more.
Okay.
Because we
Are
wanna.
you posting it on Spotify?
Yes, excellent plugin. This is going to be on Spotify, and I'm gonna post some of this slideshow and stuff on my Instagram, and also gonna post this on YouTube eventually. So yeah.
Dope.
Okay, so our next case that we have is Andrés Escobar, and I feel like none of you would know who this is. He was a soccer player. He was actually like really good with his sportsmanship, like being a good sportsman, and that's how he actually ended up getting the nickname the Gentleman of Football.
Okay.
So this case happened in July the 2nd, 1994. So this is like 14 years after John Lennon. So
Okay.
he was like a really good soccer player. He was actually the captain of the Colombian soccer team. And even though, he was really good, a really good sportsman, he's going to honestly be more known for his performance in the last game that he ever played, was in the 1994 FIFA World Cup. So this World Cup was being hosted in America at the time, and the game was even against the USA. And what happened in the game is he scored an own goal. If you don't know what an own goal is, it's kind of what its name implies. He had accidentally kicked the ball into his team's goal, and because of that, they lost the game 2-1, and Colombia ended up being disqualified from the World Cup. And you know what? The video is still on YouTube, so we can see that right now. And
Okay.
me and Bun saw the video, and we both think it's very dumb that they counted that. So you're gonna see, because he kind of like slides. He does like a. I say he thinks he did a slide, but Bun says it looks like he just tripped. So you see, he's kind of like devastated that it counted and everything, and it's gonna do a replay. You know, he didn't really kick it, honestly. It's just how the ball went after it came into contact with him. And yeah, you see?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So
That sucks.
yeah, and you know, everyone got super upset by this. Everyone was so upset that Colombia had lost, because Colombia is known to be like very good soccer team, soccer players, and you know, of course, Andres himself was very upset with his performance, and he even gave a speech apologizing for what he did. But he gave like a very sad quote in retrospect now of how life doesn't end here. And he said that more so in, you know, like, okay, it's a game, it's a soccer game, and we're gonna keep going, we're gonna, you know, make it to the World Cup next time, and we're gonna win, you know?
Yeah.
So, of course, in trying to move on, trying to, you know, feel better, but at the going against the advice of his friends and his fellow teammates, he decided to go to a disco club. And he went with a few of his teammates, you know, even though everyone was telling him, hey, that's not a good idea. A lot of people are still mad about the own goal, you know?
Yeah.
And he went, and, you know, eventually it said that he got into an argument with a group of people. It's not very clear what that argument was about, and he decided to leave. And once he got into his car, you know, the people were still following him, and then that is when he was shot 12 times. It was said that it might have been two people that they had handguns, and every time that they shot him, one of the shooters was yelling out "goal," and it was, you know, mocking that he had done the own goal, which is very messed up.
Damn.
Damn! All you gotta say is damn.
What am I supposed to say?
I don't know. You know, you're right. Because it kind of, that was very messed up, you know. And eventually, it was said that his shooter was a man by the name of Humberto Munoz Castro, and the reason why some of these details are kind of murky is probably because it was said that Castro had cartel connections, you know, and no one messes with the cartel. So yeah, and it said that while he was a fan of soccer, he was probably also involved in, you know, the betting rings, you know, with betting money on these soccer games. And it said that that could have been a huge motive, that he might have betted a lot of money on this soccer game only for it to lose because of that own goal, you know?
Yeah.
And Castro was sentenced to around 40 to 43 years in prison, but he ended up only serving 11 years.
Why only 11?
Well, because of good behavior and stuff like that, and you know, he had connections with the cartel. You're not gonna have someone who's connected to the cartel be in jail for that long. Yeah. I don't know. Could you like imagine something like this happening today? Like with the, I guess an example would be like the Super Bowls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can?
Wait, what? I can imagine that. What?
Like something like this happening, like I don't know how you would do this in like football, but like imagine like a football player making a very big mistake to where people get super upset.
Yeah, the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl.
The Chiefs lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just
was
trying to like.
scared.
You're not too into like football and stuff, are you?
No.
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 And Bun isn't either, right?
No.
No. Yeah.
No,
So.
Bun's a raging football fan. That's all they talk
Oh
about.
my.
Bun used to be in football.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like to play it, but I didn't like to.
Oh, I
like
played
watching
it.
Yeah. No, I was more into tennis. I don't know. So
W.
yeah. So yeah. When Andres died, of course, a lot of people were very shocked, and Colombia kind of changed their tune. They went from being very upset with him to being like, wait a minute, this isn't right, because at the time Colombia was going through a lot of violence, and this also kind of gave them a bit of pause of how should we protect our prayers, when stuff like this happened. And they hosted a very big funeral for Escobar.
Mm-hmm.
And in the town that he died, they put up a statue in his memory, and it's like a big statue of him with a soccer ball. So
What?
yeah, that's like the little good bit at the end of this case, I guess. Okay.
That still sucks that he died.
Yeah, it is. They shouldn't have counted that goal.
No big deal.
So next we have Selena. So this is a case that me and Bun knew more about because of just where we live and were raised. Her case happened in March 31st, 1995. Have you ever heard of Selena Fusion?
No.
No? Okay. Well, just to give a rundown of who she was a rising Tejano star. When she died, she was just about to break into the music industry, like the English music industry, because a special fact about her, even though she would sing in Spanish, her first language was English, and she had to actually learn her lyrics as she would sing them,
Okay.
Yeah. So she was killed by a fan that she trusted and led into her inner circle, which was Yolanda Saldivar. And Yolanda was actually her fan club president. And that's how she met Selena, and that's how they started, kind of forming a little bit of a friendship, I guess you would say. And eventually, because Selena was becoming more popular, and she wanted to branch out into the fashion industry as well, she started opening boutiques, and Yolanda actually became her boutique manager. And this is sort of when things started going more downhill, because Yolanda was obsessed with Selena, like very obsessed. It was said that she had swine to her in her house, and it got into a point where she was like running off employees of the boutique. And this includes one of Selena's cousins. Like, one of her cousins was working at the boutique because Selena hadn't given her the job, that she said that she just couldn't handle working there anymore because of Yolanda.
Damn.
That's super weird.
That
Like,
is weird.
that's like red flags. Like, could you imagine like having a business and you have your friends, and you say to one of your friends, hey, I'm gonna have you be in charge of this, you know, store that I have, and then you have like your brother or your cousin or something. You're like, hey, you need a job? I'll give you a job at my store. And then a few weeks later, they come to you and you're like, I cannot with him, dude. Like, how would you feel?
I don't know.
You know? Bun, how would you feel?
I tell her to get the frick out.
Yeah.
Real shit.
I mean, that's probably what she should have done, but I don't know. But eventually, her father also started getting, you know, reports from members of the fan club that said, hey, I paid my membership, but I'm not getting the merchandise that was promised, because that was a thing that apparently happened with fan clubs back in the days, I guess, that you would pay a membership fee and they would send merchandise to you. And they said they just were not getting their merchandise. And eventually it went back to Yolanda that she was embezzling money from the, you know, the merchandise and everything. And one weird thing that I found out when I was researching this is that she was even getting like perfume samples that was supposed to go to, you know, Selena for the boutique, and she was just going to Mexico and selling them, which is super weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. Eventually, Serena confronted Saldivar. You know, she needed some tax documents that she was said to be withholding, because I guess it was in March when this happened, so it was like around tax season that she needed those documents for her businesses. And eventually, Saldivar told Selena to meet her in a hotel. They went there, they argued, and that was when Saldivar shot Selena in the shoulder. And it sounds not too big of a deal, but what happened was, in the shoulder she got shot in, it had severed a huge artery, and Selena actually bled out pretty quickly, and she died.
That's good.
Yeah, like, they were saying, like, when I looked this up, like, the doctors that worked on her, if it had been like an inch to either side where she had gotten shot, she would have survived. But because of like where she got shot, that it severed the artery, you know, if she was just losing blood too quickly.
Man.
Yeah. So, this is a case that like there is a whole lot more into, you know, how Yolanda behaved, you know, that this could have been like a whole episode. But eventually, you know, after Saldivar was arrested, she was sentenced to 30 years to life. And last month, as we're recording in March 2025, she was up for parole, but she was denied. And she's not going to have another parole review into March 2030, when she's going to be 70 years old. Like, so if you were famous, would you be like kind of cautious of who you let into your inner circle, you know, after hearing this?
Yeah.
Do background checks on everyone?
Probably.
What are you, Bun? I think Bun's
I
dead.
don't know.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just thinking.
Because, like, at that point, I wouldn't even have, like, an inner circle or anything. I would just have bodyguards and my manager, and that's about it.
Just bodyguards and bodyguards.
Dude, Selena was an
Yeah,
Aries.
Serena was an Aries. Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, she had her birthday recently. Because in Texas, Selena Day is on April 16th, and that's her birthday.
W.
You happy she's an Aries? She's an Aries like you?
Yep.
So yeah, so
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Selena. Yeah, so in her legacy bit that I'm trying to like kind of lighten up the mood a little bit. She has the Selena Foundation, which is to help, underprivileged kids, I believe. She has a museum in Corpus Christi, which is where she was born. And, there's a bunch of biopics, like the movie Selena and the show Selena on Netflix that are based on her life. In the movie, she had Jennifer Lopez play her. Oh, yeah.
There's a movie?
Yeah, there's a movie. You should watch it one day. It's a really good movie. It always makes me cry, honestly.
I'll have to watch it.
Okay, so we're gonna move to our next case, and that is
I will be back, but you keep going.
Okay, so it's Gianni Versace. If you're into fashion, you would know his last name, but is the fashion brand Versace. So this case happened in July 15, 1997, and I feel like this is a case that really does need its own episode because it's just like very crazy what happened with him. So, if you don't know, Versace, he created the Versace fashion brand and he turned it into the fashion powerhouse that we see today. He was known to have dressed, famous figures such as Princess Diana, Madonna, and Jennifer Lopez, just to name a few. Bun, have you heard of Versace brand? I feel like you have. I feel like everyone has.
Yeah, I have. And
do you like it?
I don't really see the hype.
You don't see the.
Not really.
I mean,
No.
I feel like that's how it is nowadays. Like, it probably was more famous, when he, like I said, when he was alive, when Princess Diana and Madonna were wearing his clothes. Because nowadays, like,
True, yeah.
I don't even think there's, like, that much of a hype over, clothing as it was before. Like, you probably see, like, the Kardashians that they're always talking about, like, Dolce and Gabbana or something like that, but I don't feel like people really care nowadays.
Honestly, people are too broke to care.
That's why. They're too broke to care, but
Yeah.
probably back then it wasn't too broke to, like, get something from him, I guess. Okay, so on the morning of January 15, after he went out to get his morning coffee and a magazine, Versace was actually gunned down outside of his Miami Beach mansion, and he was shot twice in the head. And yeah, there is, I believe, a series now on FedEx, which is like, I think they would do like American crime series, and his murder was like the topic of one of these seasons, I believe, because of like how crazy the events happened. Because here's the thing, Versace was not the only victim of his killer. So his killer was identified as Andrew Cunanan, and to this day we don't know why he did what he did. So what we do know of Andrew Cunanan is that, he was a college dropout and he wanted to have a very luxurious life, and he got it to some degree because he had became a sex worker and he would work for, older wealthy men. And he, yeah, it's, like I said, this case is crazy.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, no, and I feel like that's why this case made it into, a TV show because of that it was just, turn after turn. So Kenan had killed 4 men before he killed Versace, but he only knew 2 of them. And it's because of that that they had the theory that he may have been targeting clients who may have given him HIV. But when it came to Versace, Versace never met Kenan. Like, he never knew who this man was. But it was said that they were in similar social circles because Kenan was into fashion and that they went to the same parties. And there are some people who says that they actually did meet at these parties. And it's because of that that they had the theory that Kenan actually, idolized Versace because he was everything that he wanted to be. And
Wow.
yeah, and they really do prey on this idea a lot in the show. And I'm referring to the show only because, like I said, we don't really know why he did what he did. And the reason because of that is because, obviously after killing 5 people, he was on the FBI's watch list. They knew right away after he killed Versace that it was him who did it. So they knew he was in Miami, that he was in Florida, so they were looking for him. And eventually they tracked him down to a very fancy houseboat that he had snuck into. And when they went and rounded the boat and they went into the boathouse, they found that he had already taken his life. So in this case, we didn't really get any justice, and we don't have any answers for why he did what he did.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, because some of these ideas were turned into a show, like how he idolized Versace, and like I told you, that's what we probably are gonna know later on because of the show. How do you think we will come to understand this case later on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, we're not gonna get any real answers because he had.
No, it's all speculation.
Yeah, it's all speculations. Like we said, some people say Versace never met him, and then other people are like, oh, but they didn't meet at a party. It's
Yeah.
yeah. In his bit about the legacy, the Versace brand, is still around. His sister Donatella later on took over the brand. There's a movie about her too, about her struggles, because she, in the beginning when he made the brand, she was one of his models. She helped him with some of the ideas, and she really took his death very hard because of course that's her brother, and especially the circumstances that he died, she didn't get any answers either. So, yeah, it's a really good movie. I would recommend it. I think it's like House of Versace.
Oh yeah, I think I saw the ad for it.
Mm-hmm. I think,
Trailer.
yeah, I think it was a good movie. So, yeah. Okay, and then this case, our final case, is our most recent one, unfortunately, and it is the case of Christina Grimmie. Have you ever heard of Christina?
I have not.
No? Okay, so this one happened June 10th, 2026? No, 2016. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic. So it was very, close to where we are now in comparison to the other cases. So, yeah, so Christina, she was actually, a YouTube star. She started on YouTube, doing covers and singing some of her own original songs. And she became, a viral sensation because of that. And so like I said, Christina was, you know, popping on YouTube. She had covers. She had, her original songs, and she even appeared on the TV show The Voice, which I think it's a singing competition. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
that show?
it is.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. She actually ended up finishing third on the season that she appeared. And she was
Oh,
gaining,
wow.
yeah, she was gaining a lot of recognitions. I think she was even in like a couple of movies, like with small parts. And she was starting to, do a bunch of concerts. And on the day of June 10th, she was at one of those concerts. She had just completed a show at Plaza Live in Orlando, and afterwards she was going to have a meet and greet. And at this meet and greet, she was signing autographs, taking pictures. Most of her fans were teenage girls and, their parents that were there with them. But towards the end of the line, there was this guy. I don't know how to pronounce his very last name, if you can see. Kevin James Wellby? Wobble?
Lobel?
Wobble? You know what?
I have no idea.
He doesn't deserve his last name to get pronounced correctly.
No.
No. So he was next in line, like towards the end of the line, and according to, eyewitnesses, he kind of just like stood there, and Christina had like a kind of technique that she would do for like fans that she thought were like very shy or anxious. What she did is she approached him with her arms open because she was about to give him a hug. Because she did that to like all her fans that I said were shy or nervous. But that's when Kevin proceeded to shoot her 3 times.
What?
Yeah, it said that he shot her once in the head and then twice in her chest. And that is when panic ensued in the venue. Everyone started panicking because, they heard shots. This is, in 2016, so, shootings were a big thing at the time. I think around that time there might have been the Las Vegas shooting. I can't remember. But either way, if people hear shoot like gunshots, they're gonna, panic. And what had happened is her brother Marcus was there with her at the meet and greet, and he proceeded to tackle Wobble, however you pronounce his name, and he got him to the ground. They struggled for a bit, but unfortunately he escaped his hole and he grabbed his gun again, but he then proceeded to shoot himself. And he was dead by the time authorities got there, I believe. And because of that, they don't really know why he did what he did. Like I said, all these cases can have their own episode because it was said that when they tried to look at his computer or tried to look at his phone, he had managed to, mess with the technology in it so they couldn't look at what he had on there. But it was said that one of his only friends and his coworkers said that he was obsessed with Christina, that he said that she was his soulmate, that he even went as far as to have surgeries done to make himself more attractive. Like he had, LASIK surgery, he had hair implants, all that.
What?
Yeah, he was literally changing how he looked to like the point to get surgery just for this woman that he never met. So
That's insane.
yeah, so it's the authorities believe, because we don't know why he really did this, that he kind of got to the point where he was so obsessed with Christina that he thought, if I can't have her, nobody can. So I guess in this, do you think, because this happened at her meet and greet, and I seen like videos, like even nowadays, where meet and greet, they don't look very secure, and so
No, they don't.
yeah, so. And her family even went on to like try to sue the venue by saying they didn't have the proper security that was needed to protect Christina. So do you think
Wow.
we can find like a safer way for like fans to be able to meet artists?
Definitely metal detectors.
Yeah,
No big bags in the venues.
yeah.
Um,
Because that's what I think our local, like, I'm trying to think the center where they do all the graduations all the time. Like they even say like every time they
yeah.
go, you have to have clear bags, or they gotta check their bags, or and that's just for like regular graduations. It's not for like
Yeah.
music concerts or anything.
No, everything here is pretty secure. Even at concerts and stuff, they don't allow you to take bags, and they have metal detectors.
Yeah, and I think like one of the other concerts that they were gonna have here that I was like kind of interested, like I wanted to look at it, that they said you needed to have clear bags.
Yeah.
So like, and that's just for like small little concerts or like graduations. This one was like for like an actual, singer that she came in third place on The Voice.
Basically a celebrity at that point.
Yeah, she was a celebrity at that point, but she was still very hands-on in, you know, meeting with her fans. Like at this meet and greet, she would, do her own social media posts. She did her own social media posts for that day of like, hey, come down to the Plaza Live. I'm gonna do a concert there,
Hmm.
So yeah. So I think her family, I had to look more into this because I think I saw it before, but I can't find any information about it now. But they wanted to make a law about how, artists need to have proper security when they go into venues, or just that venues in general need to have proper security for to prevent things like this. Um,
Good.
Yeah, and her family had even started the Christina Grimmie Foundation to help victims of gun violence and cancer, because I had to look this up, but I believe her mother had cancer and she died a couple years after her.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was all the cases that we had today. Um, that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank Thank you everyone who came and watched with us or is listening to us on Spotify. Um, Make sure that you're following us on Spotify. You can catch us live on Twitch. And next time, we're gonna be heading into some royal secrets that was revealed on.
Ooh.
Yeah, royal secrets. The royal family, they're just like us. They got family secrets that they don't want nobody to find out about.
Dang.
Yeah, so trust me, guys, you're not gonna want to miss it. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.